Hello students, in this Spark session, in this video we are going to cover some points about cardiac embryology and as well as in our cardiac physiology about our conducting system and which steps of the places where are the chambers of the heart we are going to discuss, and some points about the physiological view as well and your cardiac cycle and all. So what is the very important point to discuss both things at a time? The reason is you can able to understand the chambers regarding their flows and regarding their development of the embryological part as well. So this is the motto of this session, what we are going to make you through all the way, right? So going inside the session of cardiac embryology, right, especially what happens in the cardiac embryology in the development of heart. See, in the heart development, what is the main area you have to remember? That is your cardiogenic area. So in your cardiogenic area you have to remember about your splanchnic area, right? That is where your exact cardiac development takes place. Clear? So in cardiogenic area, the splanchnic part of the cardiogenic place is very important as well, especially what kind of your dermis part involved in that. Especially you have to remember the part which is involved, that is lateral mesoderm. Okay, so these are all the very simple one-liners which they cover in the part of cardiac embryology. Okay, so that will be from your splanchnic area and the lateral mesoderm part. So in this, which you wanted to know at least is the fusion of your cardiac part is important, and what are all the dilatations present in your cardiac part, that is also important. So that is what we are going to see. So in the splanchnic area of your lateral mesoderm, above procaudal plate, where they are present, above the procaudal plate. Okay, so this is the place where our exact cardiogenic area is presented. So how it could look like, so you can able to see, if suppose this is your area, right? This is your area which is present in the starting. This is, if suppose, your procaudal plate, and this is the above part of the procaudal plate. This is the procaudal plate, and above part of the procaudal plate is the place where this cardiogenic area totally develops. So speaking about the pericardial fluid, how much is the capacity of our pericardial fluid? Yes, that is 30 ml, right? Yes. So apart from this, in our cardiac chambers, you have to remember about two things. One is your fibrous part, and another thing is your serous part. In your serous part, you will have two things that consists of your parietal region and it consists of your visceral region. So these two things you have to remember in your mind, that where does the area, what does it develops, and what are all the dilatations over there. So we are going to see about what are all the dilatations present in your exact cardiac region. So apart from this, if you see about the tubes development, see, this is what in the screen which you can able to see, that is your tubes development. For example, this is the perfect cardiac crescent which happens in day 15, right? So in day 15, in the cardiac crescent, this is what happens in the first, like an arch it forms. Clear? So after it gets divided in between, right? So this is your atrial part and this is your ventricular part. Further on day 21, it forms a linear heart tube. Please remember, day 21 is the place where your linear heart tube gets developed. Clear? So in that place your dilatation gets starts. So in this, they'll ask you one more question. What is the question? Fusion day. When does the fusion day start? So see here, there is a fusion between them, right? So that is nothing but your day 19. Please remember that. So fusion day happens in day 19. You have to remember that there will be endocardial tube formation in day 21. Further that there will be formation of all other dilatations. Apart from this, then they start to form arches, pharyngeal arches. At day 28, please remember. So day 28 is the place where the pharyngeal arches get started. So you can able to see here, I hope the aortic arch 3 is there, 4 is there and 5 is there. So separate pharyngeal arches have separate names, which we will discuss separately in the topic of pharyngeal arches. Okay, so by this way you have to remember all these days, very important. Day 15 is important, day 19 is important where there is a fusion day, day 21 is important as well, and then day 28 is important. See, in day 50, nearly in the day 50, what happens? The mature heart, the whole gets developed. So in between, from there, starting from the day 1 to day 50, what are all the things happening? That is especially made by the basis of our embryology. That is also important to remember, and how they form dilatations, that is also very important. So what is the area where the cardiogenic area is especially formed? That is planchnic area in the lateral mesoderm. Please remember that. Okay, yes. So about the primitive dilatations of heart, so what we are going to say about the primitive dilatations, what is important to see about primitive dilatation? See, we have seen some dilatations over there, right? So what they are getting us to know and what we are knowing about that means, so there are totally 5 primitive dilatations. You can able to see in the picture, right? Yes, so this is what over there. And again, if this side over here also we have some primitive dilatation. So all these have some very unique features. Okay, yes. So how you're going to remember this primitive dilatations, that is important. So I'm going to give you a mnemonic over here. What is that mnemonic? Mnemonic is the big ping pong sing horn. Okay, so though the mnemonic is not like as in so the big ping pong sing a horn or sing a song, you can make as well, but sing a horn would be more prominent. So what I'm going to say for you here, see, T is important, B is important, here P is important, again a P is important, S and H is important. So what this mnemonic says actually, the big ping pong sing a horn. What does this mnemonic says? The mnemonic says the dilatations of the heart in the embryological development. It happens like the first thing is your truncus arteriosus. Remember, the first thing is your truncus arteriosus. What is the second? B means regards to from the mnemonic bulbus cordis. Okay, the second dilatation which belongs to our dilatation is bulbus cordis. Okay, so everything is having a separate meaning regarding our chambers of heart. If at all you are going to remember this, then the chambers will be easy as well. So then we will be having the third dilatation, which is P, that is primitive ventricle. Okay, after ventricle you will have atrium. Please remember, after the primitive ventricle dilatation you will have primitive atria dilatation. Okay, again a P, right? Ping pong, we have primitive atria. Okay, then what is there next? S. S in the sense here, remember, sinus venous body. Sinus venous body. Okay, so this is the 5 dilatations you're going to remember. And what does the last horn remembers as well? The horn remembers the right and the left horns. Okay, so here I'm going to mention it as the right horn. Okay, this is your left horn. So all these are having separate uniqueness. Okay, in the truncus arteriosus, what does mean by trunk? Trunk in the sense the biggest part, right? So here in your truncus arteriosus, the main thing which you have to know is 2 of the trunks, very big trunks. What are all they? One is your aorta and the other is your pulmonary trunk. I'm mentioning it as PT. Okay, PT. So this is how your truncus arteriosus gives a branch to aorta and pulmonary trunk. So then coming to the bulbus cordis, what is important in your bulbus cordis? This bulbus cordis gives a development or the formation of smooth part. Remember, smooth part of right and left ventricle. Okay, right and left ventricle. Please remember, first comes the ventricle. This is how your bulbus cordis gives. Then what does our primitive ventricle gives? Here already smooth part have been given. So the next part would be the rough part. Clear? The rough part of right and left ventricle. Okay, so this is how your rough part and the smooth part forms from this dilatation or the curves of your heart. So left ventricle. Okay, this is what happens in your primitive ventricle. What happens in your primitive atria? Primitive atria, it forms your rough. Primitive in the sense, remember, rough. So rough part of right and left atria, right and both left atria. Okay, so this is what happens in your primitive ventricle and primitive atria. So in sinus venous body, what happens? Obviously there will be sinus, coronary sinus involvement, venous involvement will be there over there. And if suppose our right and left horns are there, in your right terms, in terms of right, remember S, the sinus venous will be giving branch. Further, one more, apart from sinus venous, in your sinus venous there will be another branch which might be including three things. What are all the three things? One will be your vitelline veins. Remember, vitelline veins. Then it is your umbilical veins. I am making it as UMB. Okay, vitelline veins, umbilical veins, and coronary common cardinal veins. Okay, common cardinal veins. This is how your embryological part of your cardiac portions come around. So apart from this, what we have? Same S we have started. Again one more S, that is your smooth part of right and left ventricle, because rough part is already over there. So smooth part of right and left ventricle. Clear? That is important. So what happens in your left part? Left part is very simple. It been giving branch to your coronary sinus. Coronary sinus. Yeah. So this is how your all primitive dilatations of heart goes about. The big ping pong sing a horn. Horn means like right and left horn. The dilatations you have to remember. Bulbous cordis means smooth. Primitive means rough. So this is what you're going to remember, by the way. And in your sinus venous part, the sinus venous get attached, the venous blood whichever coming drawing from your pulmonary, in your inferior vena cavas and superior vena cavas drain over there in your sinus venous, it forms a separate venous supply. So apart from this, in your sinus venous, in the right horn gives a separate drainage. Apart from this, in left horn we'll have a coronary sinus supply. The main truncus arteriosus, which is over there in the first dilatation, gives aorta and pulmonary trunk. Now coming to the next thing, there we have a kind of a septum. What does this septum mean? Conotruncal septum. So after giving branch to our both aorta and your pulmonary trunk, they are making a spiral rotation. For what? For making our trunks. What are all our two trunks in our discussion, in our chambers? The main two trunk are our aorta and pulmonary trunk. If at all they form a trunk septum, if at all they are not turning together, they will not be forming a trunks. Aorta and the pulmonary trunk will not be separated. So that is how your conal trunk is very important. So what is the importance of this? Because see, this conotruncal septum, we are remembering it as CTC. So this conotruncal septum is fusing to form what? This aorta and the pulmonary trunks. That is what the importance of this conotruncal septum. You can able to see there is a cushion like things. So I hope you can able to see over here, right? There is a truncal cushions and there is a conal cushion. That is a conal part and the truncal part, which fuses, which spirally rotates to form our pulmonary trunks and our aortic part separately. If at all after the spiral turn over here, you can able to see this, right? So in this spiral groove, basically after the spiral grooves are made, your pulmonary trunk will also be there and your aortic part will also be there. Okay, so this is how the importance of spiral groove, spiral rotation is important in this conotruncal part, so that it forms a septum by these cushions over there mentioned, right? So they form a septum by truncal and conal cushions, which are endocardial cushions. They form a septum, they form a trunks, then they spirally rotate to form a aortopulmonary trunk. That is the main thing which is from our conotruncal septum. So this truncus arteriosus, what does it mean by truncus arteriosus? In the sense, our main trunks, right? This truncus arteriosus is mainly from our conotruncal septum. Where does it derive from? It is derived from our NCC. What is NCC? Neural crest cells. So these are the basic kind of cells in our embryological part where all of our cells and tissues get initiated and developed. Okay, so neural crest cells are very important. In conotruncal septum, one more thing which is important is your spiral groove or spiral rotation. So this is how they form a branch of our aorta and our pulmonary trunk. If at all there is any anomaly in your conotruncal septum, that leads to, yes, an anomalies. What is that anomaly known as? See, the first anomaly which we are going to see is our tetralogy of Fallot. How does this conotruncal septum plays a role in tetralogy of Fallot? Yes, it does a role. See, this tetralogy of Fallot means 4 things. What are all the 4 things? One is your overriding of aorta. The very importance of this, all these defects are, they could ask you in your pathology, they could ask you in your radiology as an image based question, they could ask you in the way of pediatrics also, because these are congenital defects, right? So you have to know at any cost. Tetralogy of Fallot, 4 things. One is your overriding of aorta, next is your ventricular septal defect, right? Then your pulmonary valve is stenosed. Stenosed means constricted. You can able to see here. See, pulmonary valve is stenosed. Then there is a ventricle. There in 2 ventricles. In between the ventricle there is a septum, but that septum is defective now. So that is why it is called as ventricular septal defect. Along with that, you will have right ventricular hypertrophy. RVH. You can able to see here there is a right ventricle where your cardiac muscles are all hypertrophied, right? So these 4 things will be in tetralogy of Fallot. So how does it connects with our conotruncal septum? For example, if suppose they wanted to rotate over in a spiral groove manner, if they are rotating in an opposite manner, then what happens? That is how your overriding of aorta will be there. So what is the importance of this conotruncal septum over here? See, this is happened DT in the sense due to anterior displacement of your conotruncal septum. Clear? So that is very important. Why this tetralogy of Fallot is happening? Because of your conotruncal septum, the cushions and all, they'll displace in an anterior manner. If suppose they wanted to do in a spiral manner, they'll displace in an anterior manner, so that overriding happens in your aorta, and some other defects will also be there. This is what one of the anomaly in your conotruncal septum. You have to remember this at any cost. The next defect is transposition of great arteries. What does it happen in your transposition of great arteries? Means, what are the 2 great arteries which we have seen in conotruncal septum? One is your pulmonary artery and the rest, another one is your aorta. Both are getting misplaced. Position is changed, right? So what happens in your transposition of great arteries? Because there is a, you can see there is no twisting. Usually in our normal aortopulmonary trunk, there will be twisting like this. There will be a spiral rotation. But here, due to non-spiral groove rotation, there is a defect. Okay, of our CTC, our conotruncal septum, there is a defect in the pulmonary trunk as well, and in our aorta as well, so that there will be atrial septal defect. This is called as our transposition of great arteries. The position of both the main arteries are changed because the non-spiral groove rotation. Clear? So this is one of the important anomaly which you have to remember regarding the base of embryology. Now, speaking about your chambers of heart are also very important, in which you have to remember the basic things about all the chambers. What are all the 4 chambers which you know as well already, right? You know about your right atrium. We'll see it later with the image, right? So now we'll see about the main important chamber, which is a left atrium. Okay, yes, what happens in your left atrium? Mainly what is in your anterior part of left atrium, that is important. What is in your anterior part? Your ascending aorta. Everything starts with A, you can remember easily. Ascending aorta and your pulmonary trunk, we are speaking in the anterior part, so pulmonary trunk of the aorta as well, and they both are separated by a sinus, that is a transverse sinus. Okay, transverse sinus. Now apart from this, posteriorly what they have been done with, in posterior part same, but backside you have to think about. So obviously there will be descending aorta, right? And one more thing is your esophagus as well, as you all know by the anatomical part, right? So your esophagus will be there, they will be separated by a sinus, that is your oblique sinus. Okay, so two sinus we have been done now. One is your transverse sinus and one is your oblique sinus, that is important. Okay, now same like that we have for right atrium as well. In right ventricle, which you have to remember, very important is there is a inflow and there is an outflow as well. Okay, and there is an outflow as well, right? So in right ventricle obviously there will be inflows and outflow from your, obviously in pulmonary artery, so there will be outflow and there will be inflow as well. So if at all they are asking about inflow portions, they are made of trabeculae. You have to remember, please, the embryological part about this is trabeculae. And in an outflow part, remember they are by bulbous cordis. Okay, yes, that is important. And here mainly in the inflow they are made of primitive ventricle. Why? Because they have a rough part of our ventricles. Okay, yes, primitive ventricle, that is important. And one more thing which you have to remember is the smooth outflow portion is called as, not going very deep, but these are the simple things which you have to remember. In the right ventricle, the smooth portion is called as infundibulum. The very few things about our chambers I have mentioned you. And the next thing which we can able to see here in this picture is your right atrium. Why right atrium is that much important? Because you can able to see the changes over there in them, and you can able to see about the rough changes and the fair changes within them. So if we can able to see over there, we have septum, same like in our left atrium. This is our posterior portion. If you can able to see, this is our anterior portion. Okay, anterior portion is always rough, and this is our posterior portion. In that you have a fossa ovalis. So this is what important is. Fossa ovalis is important. So what is the meaning of fossa ovalis? Why? Because in the right atrium, whenever there is a ductus arteriosus, and whenever there is a flow of blood in the newborn or in the fetus, when there is a development of the cardiologic portion in fetus, they have a fossa. After birth they will be changing it to, yes, septum primum, right, and septum secundum. Okay, so two septums are there, which same like this fossa as well, they'll close after the birth, they'll close and they form a septum. So that will be easy for our blood flow to be easier in the anterior rough part and in the posterior smooth part. So remember, in our anterior and posterior part they are separated by crista terminalis. Okay. We have been seen about some of the points where the septums are there, where the parts of sinus are there, right? Where are the divisions and what are all the importance in the atria, ventricles and all the parts of our embryological basis. Okay. Now we are going to see about a short in conducting system of heart. Yes, in the conducting system of heart, about the physiological view. What do you have to know about the physiological view of the heart, and regarding the chambers and regarding all systems and conducting part? So that is very important. See, starting from our right atrium, there will be an SC node. Okay, yes, regarding the physiological part of our system, where we are going to see about our short points about physiological system of heart, simply about our conducting system we'll see, and about some points on cardiac cycle we'll see. So if at all we are speaking about conducting system, you should know main points, what are all the conducting system including of SA node is important, right, which is present in your right atrium, and the site of SA node is very important. Where does it located? As we all know, it is located in your right atrium, but where? Especially in a right wall of right atrium, okay, and that too above crista terminalis. That is very important. So above crista terminalis, okay, that is important, SA node. So after that, where does our conducting system sends their impulse? To our one more node, that is very important node, that is atrioventricular node, right. The position of atrioventricular node is also important, that is also in our right side, but right wall of atrioventricular septum, that is important, right. If you can able to see, it is present in between atria and ventricle, so atrioventricular septum. If you can able to see if it is present in your anterior or posterior aspect, that is present in your posterior aspect. So that is what the second point which is important in your conducting system, okay. So in the part of our physiology, in the conducting system especially, the next point where they send their impulses, bundle of His. So after that, they'll be getting divided into the right bundle branch and again the left bundle branch. Then they will give their impulse to the further fibers, that is your Fmge fibers. In these Fmge fibers and all these conducting system, what you have to know at least the two main points, which is your slowest conducting system of the nodes and which is your highest or the fastest conducting system. Slowest is obviously your AV node. Why? The reason is they have less number of gap junctions and the timing is 0.02 to 0.05 seconds, please remember. And for fastest, remember F as a role, that is fast, that is having 4 and that is having fibers within them. So who is fast? Fast is your Purkinje fibers, okay. Purkinje fibers are fastest conduction in the whole conducting system of the heart. Comparing all these things happens in your chambers of heart, where our depolarization and repolarization effects will be happening. What are all depolarization and repolarization we will be seeing in the topic of action potential. But still, regarding this, you have to remember the conducting system mainly, which involves these 4 things, okay. So mainly speaking about that, their conducting time we have seen, mainly the conducting system we have seen, right. So apart from that, what is important? Apart from that, the thing is, how does our cardiac conducting system of our nodes are getting impulse? See, in your mainly conducting system, speaking about this system, the depolarization and the repolarization parts are very important, okay. So in these all depolarization and repolarization, the first thing which is getting repolarized is your right atria, right. Atria, we can call it as atria. Atria will be depolarized first, okay. Then starting from that, impulse come over there from your SA node to the AV node. Further on, it passes on to your bundle of His, then it passes on to your fibers. So if at all they ask, depolarization happens by the way of from endocardium to epicardium. Please remember that. Depolarization in the sense the generation of impulse from your SA node pass on to the AV node, and when it gives deflection, that deflection will be from endocardium to epicardium. So what about repolarization? Repolarization will be there from your epicardium to endocardium. Remember, this will be vice versa as well, okay. So always remember, in your atria, in atria and in your both ventricles, the first thing which is getting depolarized is your atria. Atrial point which is depolarizing first is very important. Why? Because once they get depolarized, after the further impulse will be traveling on there from your SA node to the AV node and further on to the passage of bundle of His and fibers. So from SA node, here I am saying you can able to see some 3 tracts within them from SA node to AV node, right? So I would be mentioning over here, from SA node to AV node, 3 tracts are there. First, your anterior tract, middle tract and posterior tract. A for B, please remember, that is your Beckman's tract. Okay, these 3 tracts are very important for flowing on the impulse within the way by these tracts from SA node to AV node. That is important. And one more thing about M means, remember, W, that is your Venke back tract. And P is nothing but your tract of Thorel. So this is what all the tracts are important, how they conduct the impulse. So this is the short explanation about the conducting system of heart, about the whole conducting system, the depolarization part and the repolarization part, everything we will see on in the revision of our cardiac system. But as well, just to give you an overview about how this is connected with our cardiac chambers and system. That is why the reason I have given over here. About speaking in the terms of cardiac cycle, some points are very important. As such, I am speaking about the cardiac physiology and the action potentials. There are separate action potential parts in your cardiac SA node pacemakers and in your muscle cardiac physiology as well. We will see it in as a separate topic or else in the physiological revision session. But as of now, you can remember, I'll be giving you a very short overview about how to review or see the cardiac cycle part. So what does it mean by cardiac cycle? It is a sequence of events, right, in which there is a formation of systole and diastole, right? That is important. And apart from that, you know that there is one systole and one diastole part will be there. So how do you calculate the duration of beat? The duration of one beat is calculated by the very fixed formula, that is 60 by heart rate. For example, if suppose your heart rate is 100, then what will be your duration of beat? 0.06. This is for just an example. Then if you see, the normal duration of one beat is 0.08. Okay, in this cardiac cycle we have atrial cycle separately, right, and your ventricular cycle separately, which you know already. So in atria, again as well, atrial systole I am writing, AS, atrial diastole I am writing. In ventricular part, again the same, ventricular systole and ventricular diastole, and the timing of them is very important. If suppose the normal is 0.08, then in atrial systole that is 0.01 seconds, in atrial diastole that is 0.07 seconds. Please remember. And in ventricular systole it is 0.3 seconds, that is 0.03 seconds. Clear? And if at all we are speaking about, this is 0.8. okay, yes, this is 0.1 and this is 0.7. If at all in ventricular systole, that is 0.3 seconds, in ventricular diastole that is 0.5 seconds. So totally the normal thing, that is 0.8 seconds. So this is how the cardiac cycle remembers and presents to be in a differentiated mode of atria and ventricles. Remember 0.1, that is 0.1, I'm sorry, here, yes, it is 0.1 plus 0.7. okay, so totally 0.8. So in ventricular cycle it would be 0.3 plus 0.5, so that it will be totally 0.8 seconds, which would be giving totally n as well. So main normal cardiac cycle which is going on through, by the way, that is 0.8. So that is what you have to remember at any cost. It is very important to remember. So after speaking away by this, we have to speak some points about our atrial systole, diastole and ventricular systole and diastole in a very short manner, so that we will get some overview idea about it. So before that, we have some heart sounds as well, right? So speaking about the heart sounds, what happens in our all heart sounds, that is very important. So in our heart sounds, if at all we are speaking, there are 4 heart sounds, right? That is 1, 2, 3 and 4. Mainly 2 heart sounds are clear, very clear, right? Heart sound 1 and 2 is very clear. If at all we are speaking about 3 and 4, 3 is always heard in athletes and in children, okay? 4 is a kind of always a pathological heart sound, please remember. So where these heart sounds are heard and which feature of our atrial systole, atrial diastole and everything is heard, we'll discuss in our further session. See in the next part, a very short overview about what happens in your atrial systole. And what happens in your diastolic part, that is what we are going to discuss. In your atrial systole part, for example, how does it starts from, right? If I am speaking about the atrial systole, it starts from the contraction, right? Whenever we are speaking about the cardiac cycle or else the cardiac chambers and the contractions of them, we always note down their pressures, right? The pressure within them is most important, most concerned. So while noting down the pressure, what our scientists did, they have measured the right atrial pressure, very importantly. RAP means right atrial pressure. They have predicted these right atrium pressure. For example, if you see, it is our part where right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium and left ventricle is there. So always the blood comes on and fills on over here from superior vena cava, as you all know, and they will be getting drained from your lower limb from inferior vena cava, and your right ventricle is connected to your pulmonary artery, left ventricle is connected to your aorta, right, and your left atria is connected to your pulmonary vein. This is what the whole overview is. So if at all your superior vena cava is filling on, by the way, the whole draining the part of blood, you know that superior vena cavas have no valves, so they will not close. Obviously the blood will be drawing on, so that there will be pressure creating in your right atrium. So if at all we are seeing about the right atrial pressures, our scientists have depicted a waves for them, and they have named the waves as well. So what are all the waves in right atrial pressure means? A wave is there, C wave is there, A descent means they were in a kind of going downwards, okay? So same like that, V wave is there and Y descent is there. Simple. If at all descent, then there is decrease in pressure, okay? Decrease in pressure. So Y descent means decrease in pressure. In both A and C, there will be increase in pressure, okay? Increase in right atrial pressure. We are speaking about right atrium, so increase in pressure. In Y descent, I am giving you in a very simple and simplified manner, so that we are not supposed to read it in a very difficult manner. So in Y descent means there will be decrease in right atrial pressure, very simple. So what happens in your atrial systole? First, the blood flows on from your superior vena cava to your right atria. Further on, there will be contraction of your atria. That is what happens in your atrial systole. So by that way, your right atrial pressure increases, right? Once the right atrial pressure increases, then what happens? Obviously A wave is produced, and here there will be a heart sound that is produced as HS4. Remember, why? Because of your vibration of ventricles, okay? So whenever there is a filling of blood in your atria, there is a contraction of your atrium, that is in your atrial systole. So that vibration of your ventricle happens, which gives on in your heart sound 4, vibration of ventricles. So please, you can remember in your feature of atrial systole how many percentage of blood filling will be there. That is 30% of your ventricular filling will be there. So this is the main important feature of your atrial systole. What happens in contraction? Pressure will be increased, heart sound 4 will be produced, and that is the reason of because of your vibration of ventricles, and 30% ventricular filling will be there. So now the drained blood which is coming to your right atrium, they have a pressure, the heart sound is also produced. So basically how much will be the pressure? The pressure will be 0. Then how much it gets changed? In your left atrium, the pressure gets changed from 0 to 6 to 8 mmHg, remember that. And from your right atrium, it gets changed to 4 to 6 mmHg, okay? So these things are very important in your atrial systole part. See, this is what happens in your ventricular systole. I have given you as a diagrammatic representation so that it will be easy for you to understand. See, once there is a systole, atrial systole is there. Further, the contraction is happening. The additional blood from atria comes onto your ventricles. So this is what showing in your ventricles, right? So once the blood came onto your ventricles, then what happens? Then your ventricular systole starts. In this ventricular systoles, many of the things you should remember, by the way. What is the thing you have to remember? That is EDV. What is EDV? EDV is nothing but end diastolic volume. What does it mean by end diastolic volume? The volume of blood which is in each ventricle at the end of diastole. Whenever there is a relaxation, there will be a remaining blood in your ventricles. That is what we are going to calculate after the diastolic process. That is most probably 120 to 140 ml in your feature of systole. Everything you have to remember. Okay, if you would have been read cardiac physiology already, it would be easy for you, unless it would be somewhat difficult, but still it is easy for you. One is EDV, means the remaining blood in your ventricles after relaxation we have done. So apart from this, after what happens, then first thing which happens that in your ventricular systole is, see, in first there will be two phases in your ventricular systole, that is isovolumetric systole and the proper, or you can say the proper ventricular systole. Okay, proper ventricular systole. In this what happens, there will be closure of AV valve. So AV valve gets closed. Okay, so here there will be production of some heart sounds and there will be production of waves as well, right? So whenever there is a AV valve closed, there will be again pressure will be increased in right atrium, so that the wave which is produced is C wave. Why it is produced? Because of again increase in pressure in your right atrium. So then what happens, again there will be production of your heart sound 1. Heart sound 1. So please remember, whenever there is AV closure, there will be production of your heart sound 1. Simple point. Then regarding your proper ventricular systole, then there will be opening of SL waves. Opening of SL waves means your semilunar valves, your pulmonary valve and your aortic valve. Your AV valves are closed first, so that is why they have been given changes of your C wave and heart sound 1. So if at all there is ventricular systole, there will be opening of your semilunar valves, and further they will be giving the value of your stroke volume. Stroke volume. What does it mean by the stroke volume? In stroke volume, you have to remember the blood ejection from the ventricle. That is most probably 70 to 90 ml. Okay, 70 to 90 ml. That is very important. Blood ejection from each ventricle. That is fixed 70 to 90 ml. If you know these both, you can able to easily say what is ESV. Means end systolic volume. It is easy, right? That is given by, in your end systolic volume, you can easily able to predict it by end diastolic volume. You can minus the stroke volume, then how much it comes? It is literally about 50 ml. So very important, these terms are very important, that's why I am saying you again and again. End diastolic volume, it is fixed 120 to 140 ml. Stroke volume is also very important, that is 70 to 90 ml, and end systolic volume is 50 ml. So what is the importance of these things? Because you have to find the ejection fraction. Why that much important this ejection fraction is? Because whenever there is any pathological finding in your heart, whenever you go for an echocardiography, so this is the ejection fraction which shows the exact cardioperfusion functions, so that if you can able to understand what is the stroke volume, what is end diastolic volume, what is end systolic volume, then it will be easy for you to predict what ejection fraction is. So what is the formula for ejection fraction? Stroke volume by end diastolic volume into 100. Okay, so the final answer which comes is 65%. Very important question. If suppose there is less than 65% of ejection fraction, then the perfusion and the cardiac pumping function of heart is very low. Okay, so these are the two things which is happening, that is your isovolumetric systole, AV will be closed, proper systole, then SL will be open. Though the vice versa happens in your ventricular diastole. What happens in your diastole? Same thing. Now SL have been opened, then what have to be done next? If the semilunar valves get opened, then the next thing which is done should be, yes, if the semilunar valves get opened, then the next thing that is done should be your SL gets closed. See, AV is open, AV is closed first, then our semilunar valve get opened. If it is open, then they have to close at any cost, so it gets closed, then again your AV will open. This is how your cardiac cycle goes on. Okay, see what happens in your contraction systole. Again, if you come to here, there will be relaxation. In the part of relaxation, that is nothing but your diastole, there will be two things. One is your SL close and another thing is your AV open. In both the things, what happen? Either because of this close, semilunar valve close, there will be production of your heart sounds again, right? So there will be production of heart sounds because the pressure will be decreased. Once the SL valve gets open, the production of your blood and the flow of your blood might be decreased. Again, when the SL gets closed, then again there will be a drainage of blood, right? So we can able to see here. If it is closed, semilunar valves are closed over here, then there will be a flow of blood, right? So again there will be production of heart sounds. And in your diastole, ventricular diastole, in the first place the heart sound 2 is produced, then again your heart sound 3 is produced, and this is because of your semilunar close and this is because of your AV opening again. So here your ventricular filling, when there is a relaxation, that would be 70% of ventricles get fit. So very important, very basic things I have said, not much I have gone detail about the cardiac cycle. Very basic things. In your systole what happens, in your diastole what happens. First your AV valve, that is atrioventricular valve, close because of that pressure increases. In your semilunar valves, when that is open, again the pressure decreases. In whether there is a right atrial pressure decrease, there will be a formation of descent waves in your jugular venous pressure. Okay, about the right atrial pressures. Right atrium in the sense superior vena cava, right? So if at all superior vena cava drains, where does it comes from? It comes from internal jugular vein. So these all notify your jugular venous pressure as well. So that we are giving in a prediction of waves. So once your dilatation or relaxation or diastole is done, the two heart sounds which is produced is HS2 and HS3. That is because of your SL close, means semilunar valves gets closed, and again it makes your AV valve, that is atrioventricular valves, to be open. So this is the reason how it is a cycle of production of atrial systole, ventricular diastole, ventricular diastole. We are not going to read about atrial diastole in detail because it happens in a fraction of second of a wave when ventricular systole is happening. That's why we are not having much features over there in them. So first the heart sound which is produced is HS4, but it should not be heard at any cause until and unless there is a pathology. So this is what we have seen all about the basic things in your embryology, in your physiological point of view. In the next session we'll be discussing the integrated points and somewhat the MCQs as well based on this kind of a topics as well. Okay, so I hope this will be clear for you, the both things about a short intro of systole and diastole, what happens during contraction, what are all the valves which is closed and what are all the valves which is open. Very clear, right? And if any doubts you can ask as well. Thank you.